All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today is one of the pit stops that we are doing at the SHOT Show in 2026. So we're glad you guys are tuning in and checking this out. Right now, I have with me John Meyer, who is from Team One Networks. And I want to thank special thanks to Rob Beckman from the Firearm Trainers podcast. He reached out to me and said, hey, John Meyer would be great. You should connect with him and talk with him for a while. He's worked with HK. He's got a lot of great stories, and he's doing some new stuff now. So you need to talk with him and spend some time and get to know him. So I'm glad to have you on, John. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So I usually like to get into how people got into firearms. You've been into it for forever. Let's talk about. You said you got some great stories about the H&K days. Let's hear about these stuff. So, what did you do at H&K? How did you work your way up? Because you said you were like up there.
Well, I started in HK in April of 1988.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Singleton, who was the director of training at that time, had offered me a job because back in '87. I had him come in and train my SRT team. I worked with Department of Defense at Picatinny Arsenal.
Oh, cool.
And we had an SRT team, and I asked him to come in and do some CQB training for us.
All right. SRT.
Special Reaction Team.
All right. And then CQB is close quarter combat?
Close quarter battle.
Oh, so close.
Okay. So Phil came up and worked with our team, and he was very impressed with our team. And he had just started as director of training for H&K. Mm-hmm. And he offered me a job. And so I took it in April of '88, and I went and worked with Phil. And I was working with Phil basically as his number two guy until he left. He left in 1993 and started his own company, Phil mm-hmm. Singleton International. And so I took over as director of training. And so the only person that was left there was Gary Gregory, who was our armorer. And 3 months after I took over director of training, Gary got promoted to repair manager. So my whole training division was me. So I would go in the bathroom in the mirror and hold roll call and tell them, you're looking good. And
you're looking good. All right,
yeah.
team. Right. Yeah. Every time you talk, it's you talking to the team.
Right. So, Steve Otway was president of H&K at that time. He's the one that promoted me to director of training, but he also supported us and really believed in the training division. So he allowed me to hire two guys in '93, and then in '95 we expanded with three what we called road guys. They were trainers / salesmen, mm-hmm. and they covered the entire country.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but we also could use as a training. We hired them because of their training knowledge.
Yeah.
So that was very good for us, and it became very good for prosperous. And so we did that, and Steve Otway was always supporting us, and every time I asked him for something, he was trying to figure it out in the budget. So one of the things I always asked him for was, we wanted to build a live fire shoot house, and which were expensive back then, but nowhere near what they are now.
Right.
So he put it in the budget. Well, the first year, I think it was like '94, he put it in the budget, and Germany came back because we were dealing with Germany and British Aerospace, who owned us, Royal Ordnance actually, mm-hmm. and no, we're not going to spend it. I think it was like back then it was like $30,000, and next year he put it in the budget, and he goes, "Come on, we're going to lunch." I went to lunch, and he goes, "The Germans approved it. HKO approved the budget." He says, "I don't think they realized that the shoot house was in the budget. You better get me a PO immediately."
Right.
So I called Porta Target and said, "I need a PO, and I need it before the Germans get up." And we got it. Everything was good, and we built the shoot house Porta Target built the shoot house probably within 30 days.
Wow.
And it was great, but we were on shoestring budget. We had no floor in it. It was just a dirt floor, which proved to not be good. And then we didn't have a roof. We put our own roof over it. Our instructors built one of these like tent-looking aircraft hangar things.
Oh,
you
like
know.
a big half circle kind of a
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But it was just vinyl. It wasn't,
Right.
But that worked out good. But we built that shoot house, and we had so many students coming in because we used to do tactical classes, shoot house instructor classes, tac submachine gun classes, tac pistol classes, and we used it for that. And it was fantastic. Porta Target built, I don't know how many after that, but I know the floor plan that we designed, they built like 8 of them in their lifetime, just the exact same floor plan.
Oh, wow.
And it was very good.
That's
But
really cool.
yeah, and we did a lot of stuff with Porta Target. We designed our courses around their targets because we could go from paper to steel and just quickly do that. Like literally, if you and I were shooting together, one guy would pick up the steel, the other guy would put the paper target in, take the steel back, and then we want to go back to paper, just flip it. And so we did a lot of work with Porta Target. The one thing that was very interesting is I asked them, Paul Shom, who's the owner, I said, I would really like, we had moving targets and pop-up targets and stuff like that. I said, but, we're a road show too. And I said, is there any way you can put this on a trailer and also put shoot back guns, paint guns on it? So he built us a 20-foot trailer, which had steel moving targets on it. I think it had a dozen pop-up targets that would come up all different ways. And we had 7 paintball guns on it. 6 of them were fixed, and 1 was totally remote controlled that the instructor in the back could use it. And, so we made people wear goggles,
Right,
paintball protection.
Sure.
And it changed the whole dynamics. Now, you're shooting live fire at steel targets popping up in different angles and stuff like that. And then, we're shooting back at you. And you could really see people use cover now. Before, when nobody's shooting back at you, the
Right.
cover.
Yeah, cover schmover.
It changes.
Yeah.
So that was really, really proved to be a lot of fun. It was so much fun that instructors would not walk down range if anybody was near the control for the paintball guns because they knew somebody was going to get shot.
Somebody might send around.
Right.
Yeah,
So
they might hit them.
Yeah, and so that was a lot of fun. But we did so many different things. We did collaborations with Harley Davidson.
Wow.
Harley Davidson would bring us 24 motorbikes, police motorbikes, and in a trailer with a mechanic. And we would do a 5-day class. And basically half a day was riding motorcycles, the other half a day was shooting, or tactics. And then every day we'd start trying to combine them. At the end of the day, we had guys riding Harleys on top of berms, coming down and going and sliding the bikes down and shooting. Then we also had the paintball guns that would shoot back at you.
Yeah.
So we would always have them come down and have them ambush, and you would see a paintball hit the windshield. And, they had to do an evasive maneuver. Sometimes it was just dumping the bike and getting off. Sometimes it was just getting out of there, depending on where they were.
That sounds so awesome.
Oh, the collaboration with Harley was amazing. They supported us 100%. And one of the interesting things about doing, when you talk about training, is that we also had a motorcycle cop, an instructor that was fantastic. And one of the very first things that we did in that class is when they got out on the bikes, they said, okay, here's the bike. What we want you to do is, as you're getting off, somebody charging you. What are you going to do? And they would hesitate and all that. He said, this is what you do. You drop the bike and you unash yourself or get in behind cover. And now motorcycle cops, if you've ever been around them, they spend a lot of time polishing that bike, making it clean and everything like that. And for them to think, I'm going to drop this bike, but we had all Harley's bikes and they wanted you to do that. And, so you would drop the bike and that would be it. And then we showed you how to pick it up without struggling, and just little techniques that they did that. So that was the first thing I say. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to go out and ride. Nope. You're going to drop the bike and then you're going to learn how to pick it up.
Wow.
So we did collaborations with Harley, and then we got well, it was even before we got Harley. We worked with Gary Klugowitz, who was Milwaukee County Sheriff's. Gary had he was a knockdown karate champion for North America, but he came up with a technique called active countermeasures, and basically striking techniques and stuff, really without firearms, you know. So I went out and trained with him, and I told him, listen, I want to do everything that you're doing about, controlling people and knocking people down, but I need to do it with an MP5 in my hand, and he looked at me like, really? And I said, yeah. And so he came out to our training, he saw what we were doing, and we did active countermeasures for the tactical instructor, and that took off like crazy.
Wow.
And we taught people how to fight with guns in your hand, and we don't teach to use the gun as an impact weapon. It's a last resort. If you have to, you have to, but that's not our primary purpose. So that became unbelievable. It changed all the tactics. How we came up with that is because prior to working with Gary, when we were training to do CQB, coming into a room, if you were, an aggressive shoot target, it was easy. Okay, we shot you, and no big deal. But if you were like, okay, I'm giving up, but I'm not complying with you, what are we going to do with the guy? So we have to bring him down on the ground. So in the old days, we would just go up to you, tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, we knocked you down because we don't want to hurt you.
Right.
Well, it all changed with Gary. We had our bad guys that were in red man gear, protective gear. And when we go in there, you either elbowed them or kneed them or angle kicked them. And, you had to do it so it would take them down.
Right.
And you did it with an MP5 in your hand or a pistol. And we showed how to safely do that. And so that changed the way we did training throughout the country.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we went out and we found other people that were doing different things, and we worked with them. We weren't going to be the training group that said, oh, yeah, everything was invented here. We went out and found subject matter experts on stuff that we were doing. We did a collaboration with Dr. High School, tactical emergency medicine doctor that started doing stuff with SWAT teams, and so we started a tactical emergency medicine course, and we had 3 doctors. They were all based right out of here by Las Vegas, and that course took off, and it was mainly for EMTs, doctors, and paramedics, and we basically showed them. They spent a half a day doing tactics or shooting, and the other half a day they were doing medical scenarios and stuff like that. And as the 5-day course progressed, everything started coming together. And the final exercises, just like ones we talked about, was that, you were going into a live fire shoot house and then now working on somebody, and we had an intubation dummy in there where they had to intubate somebody or, give them IVs or whatever. And the doctors loved it. And they were also getting, I forget what they call CEUs or whatever, credits for the doctor stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. So the doctors loved it because they got their continuing education credits for shooting MP5 submachine guns.
There are worse things they could do to get those points.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, we really had a good time. The other thing I'd like to say is about that whole era, we had the instructors that we had were just incredible. The full-time instructors, the adjunct instructors that's what made it. It was really an amazing team. There was not one person that was responsible for that coming together. It was just a group, and we had people from all over the country, and it was just fantastic. And
this is when I don't want to say training was new, but it really was evolving back then.
Yes.
Like things were changing. Like you said, you had the force on force stuff. You got the things that are shooting back at you, and that really changed how people do training. And it's I teach licensing courses, and I always try to emphasize it really is the bare minimum of stuff you need to do. And then when you get somebody to get their license and buy a gun and you go to the range, then they're like, oh, wait a second, there's a lot more to this than than they know about. And then hearing stories like yours, I'm like, oh, this is way beyond what I know.
Yeah. Well, the realistic. You mentioned the force on force. When people are shooting back at you, it's an entirely different ball game. Or you even know that they have the opportunity to shoot back at you.
I think there's a Clint Eastwood movie. I want to say it was might have been Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah.
I think is what it was, and he said, "Incoming fire has the right of way."
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and we did it. We also worked with a lot of other trainers. Clint Smith that started Thunder Ranch
Oh, yeah.
in '93, and Clint's amazing. He's an amazing instructor. So
he's a bucket list person for me too.
Oh yeah, he's fan. I don't know him that well. I do know him. I talked to him just last week to let him know. Not last week. Excuse me. A couple months ago, about this project I'm doing with trying to get all the memories of training division.
Yeah.
And Clint was. A lot of people think Clint was the first director of training for HK, but he was actually the second. Jerry Lane, who came from Smith & Wesson Academy, was the first, but Jerry was only there for about 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And Clint was only there less than a year. He started in '86 and left in November of '86 when Phil came in. They hired Phil to work with Clint, and Clint decided to start his own company, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Thunder Ranch, I think it was probably like a year after I got promoted to director of training. I was going through Texas, and I called him up and said, "Hey, I'd like to stop," because he always invited me. I think I saw him at Leffie. You should come and take a look at the ranch. And it was amazing. I said, "Yeah, I'd love to have that. I can't compete with any of that."
Right.
And then plus his instruction is fantastic also.
Yeah.
Our instructors went through his classes, but a lot of our adjuncts, because they were working for other police departments at the time, and they would take that. They would take everybody's, So yeah, that era was just kind of amazing, what was going on. But it was just all instructors were, all gung ho, and how do we stay on the cutting edge?
Mm-hmm.
Let's not just, that's the way we always did it.
Right.
And everybody had that attitude back then.
Mm-hmm.
The organizations, you had ILEFI. Back then you had ASLET. I remember Gary Klugotz, I went to an ASLET conference with him, and I went through his training, and he says, "Hey," he says, "you want to come? We're going to have a businessman lunch at ASLET." I'm like, "Phew. I'm up to businessman lunches. I love the food, and I'll be there."
I'm very lunch oriented.
Yeah, yes, I'm good at that. And he says, "Well, we're going to meet down in the gym." I said, "Okay, just a place where everybody's going to meet." No, it was eye-opening. I get down there. There's probably 30, 40 people in there, and half of them are holding striking bags. And he said, "Okay," he says, "we're going to work out for the next hour." And we had everybody line up opposite each other, and I had a little whistle, and he was doing do elbow strikes, and you keep working down the line. So you had 40 people there, and you did like 20 some strikes, and then when you got to the end, you flipped over and you held the bag,
right.
And then you just kept on going like a big line.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we did other stuff, and then we went to knees, and then angle kicks, and I said, "Oh, Gary, you got me on that one." I said, "That's the most interesting lunch I've ever had." So, without eating any food,
right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. We were allowed to drink water, but keep drinking water.
Right?
Yeah,
you need to hydrate.
But yeah, so I mean, and that was just the way it was back then. A lot of instructors did, they just couldn't get enough training.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not that way now, but it has changed a little bit, But so yeah, that's some of the stuff. That's some of the stuff I want to talk about. What we did back in the day, and how everybody was involved in it.
That's very.
And
cool.
then I left HK in 2002 December. Well, I left. They fired me, and so I got to just tell you this. So they had new owners come in.
Yeah.
They were very nice to me. They gave me a very nice severance. And they told us that, there's nothing negative going out about this. We're just putting
Right. We're bringing our new people in.
right.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. But I'll tell you an interesting thing, though, is that one of the owners, I don't know if I should mention his name or not, but it's positive. I had ordered guns from Fab Arm, and they were engraved with my name, and then I had one for my son, his name, and one for my daughter. And these guns were, well, at my cost, an employee discount, they were over $2,000 a piece.
Ooh.
2 days after I got fired, the office called me up and said, "Hey, your guns came in," and I said, I haven't talked to anybody. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I don't know if I can afford them.
Right.
And
can you make it part of the severance package?
So I didn't say any of that. I said, they said, okay, well, we'll see. So they must have called the new owner who was in England, and he called me up like an hour later and said to me, "John," he said, "those guns are yours. You just do the proper paperwork." He says, "We're not charging you for the guns at all, and it's not part of your severance pay."
Oh, nice.
Okay, so
that's cool.
yeah.
That's,
I mean, they were just stand-up people. You know? I mean, if I had to get fired, that's the way. It wasn't bad.
It could be a lot worse.
Yeah,
you could go in the office is locked.
Yeah, exactly. And they were very great to me, and the education that I got there, because of, I went from, started as an instructor. I left there as vice president in charge of international training and all of sales. Wow. At one point, we had 3 different vice presidents: one in charge of federal, one in charge of commercial, and one in charge of law enforcement. And we slowly changed that, and I had it all. But the CFOs were there, and the presidents that were there all mentored me and taught me tons of stuff, and it was a fantastic type. But then when I got out, I said, well, what am I going to do? And everybody said, "Oh, start your own company." I said, "Nah, there's not going to be no John Meyer and Associates. I can guarantee you that," because that's not the way. That's not the way my success has been. Right. Everything I've ever been successful in, I've been part of a team. And so I'm like, okay, that's where we came up with the name of my company now, Team One Network.
Tell us about this.
So we, I guess, let's see, I got fired in December. I had a couple different offers on jobs. I actually got an offer from a college to run their tactical training division. They were just starting to start it up. And but I decided that, okay, I am going to have this company. And everybody was all on board. All the adjuncts that were working for H&K said, "Yep, we'll go with you. No problem." And I think 5 of the full-time guys left shortly after I left. It was just they knew things were going to be changing. And, with the new owners and how training division was accepted, it took us a long time to get the Germans to accept, civilians training law enforcement. Right. Because that just didn't happen in Germany. Sure. And then when we did it over there, they were very shocked, and that sort of got them on board with, okay, maybe these guys got something, Yeah. So, so I started the company, and with nothing, and then I had sponsors. Streamlight was one of my very first sponsors, and they made the decision overnight, and then now I have over 30 different sponsors. That's and incredible. We're basically what we had for HK. Now we're little mini training divisions for about 30 different companies.
That's amazing.
So like Streamlight is a perfect example. We go out and do low light courses for them, and and show their product, and it's been an amazing relationship. That company is just an amazing company. I mean, when people go to work for Streamlight, they don't leave. Yeah, they love it, and it's just a great company. So very cool. So I've had Team One for 23 years in March. Wow, and that's quite a while. Oh yeah, well, and in 2000. Well, my son worked for me as director, or as the training coordinator for a couple years, probably like in 2010, 11, around there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got offered his job as a rep, and he took that because it was a good move for him.
Sure.
Well, as he was working as a rep, he got asked if he would be interested in having a rep group. So he asked me, could we do a rep group under Team One? Absolutely. So we created the Team One public safety division,
mm-hmm.
which now we rep mainly police cars with lights, sirens, canine kennels, safes, prisoner transports, anything that will go in a police car, we rep it.
You guys got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and that, we started that in 2014, and that has just unbelievable. He's probably quadrupled his income
wow.
in the past 12 years.
That's that's amazing.
He started with just him, and now he's got 6 guys working for him.
Jeez, that's incredible. That's wonderful.
And that's expanded Team One.
Yeah.
And then last year, my daughter and my son-in-law, I think I said that already, they work for me. Or I think I work for them more than they work for me. But they went to an event called Battle of the Badges, which was started by a police officer down in Southwest Virginia. And it was just a fantastic event. And they thought, we should get involved in that. And we looked at acquiring that and still keep the police officer that was doing it, working on that. So we did that. 2025, we ran 4 events. And now we're going to have 5 of them scheduled for 2026.
Wow.
We're not going to really schedule any more of them, but it's for law enforcement only.
Mm-hmm.
There's basically 2 divisions. Iron sights or red dot.
Yeah.
Police pistol, no race guns.
Yeah.
And everything you do is something to do with police. So one of the stages, you're carrying a shield and shooting. The other stage, you're ramming a door. Another stage, you're working with a flashlight. Another one, you're getting in or out of a vehicle.
Yeah.
Or shooting in and around vehicles. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a one-day event too. So,
yeah.
And they love it, and it's expanding. This is where I'm really out of my league because they do a ton of social media, and my new words are reels, not called videos anymore. I don't know what happened.
Right.
So
it is what one person calls them. One place calls them reels, another one calls them shorts.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to keep up.
Well, whatever. I do whatever they tell me.
Right.
And I'm really not involved in it. They make it all happen. But we're on all the different social media platforms, and I'm learning stuff that I guess at one time we got shadow banned because we had guns, and so they had to jump through hoops and do some other thing. But now they're clear. Now we can get something something or whatever.
It's exhausting playing the games of these companies and trying to figure out what works. And like we talked about before we did the show, I don't want to chase after that stuff. Like I just want to put my stuff out and put it out and whatever, let it go on its own. I ended up putting a video on. It's completely ridiculousness. I shot a Desert Eagle this week, and I had a shell case come up and hit me in the head. And my head started to bleed. And a friend of mine got it all on video. So I put it on Facebook. I put it on Instagram. I put it on TikTok. And it barely has any views on TikTok. And because I'm firing a gun. And it's ridiculous playing these games with all the social media.
Well, I try to like, share, and comment. I guess that's my
sharing, comments the phrase, right?
It's my big thing. That's about all I can do.
That's awesome.
So,
well, listen, we need to start to wrap things up. How can people find? I know you don't know all the socials, or you don't do the socials, but how can people find Team One?
We're team1network.com, all spelled out, is
Gotcha.
our website, and same thing. We have it on whatever Facebook, LinkedIn,
all the
Instagram,
stuff. Right?
Yeah. Whatever.
It's there.
Yep. We have our YouTube channel.
Oh, cool.
So, and also, you go to Battle of the Badges also. For on YouTube and all that. They have a ton of great reels about Battle of the Badges.
Very cool.
it's just a lot of fun. I tell everybody, I think the difference is the people they have that are running the stages are there to make sure you have a good time. They're also there for safety.
Sure.
They do a great job of that, but they're not, some referee that's getting ready to hammer you for something.
Right.
They want you to have a good time.
That's cool.
And they do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, listen, I am going to, I'll put some links in the show notes of all of the places that you mentioned so people can find Team One on all their socials. I thank you for being on the show and giving us some good stories about the old days of H&K. When you have whatever it is that you have this package of all the old stories, please feel free to reach out and we'll have you back on and find a way to promote that so more people can find that and get all of that.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning into the show, for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show and got something out of it, please share it with your friends because that is how we get the Stagecoach across America. And again, I want to say thanks to Rob Beckman for connecting John and I, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks a lot.